Hello and good morning. Once you have all of your things gathered, we're actually going to start on hands and knees this morning. We're going to start with a little cat-cow. So stacking the shoulders over the wrists. If you have any wrist stuff going on, you could lift your palms up on the edge of something that will take the flex out of the wrists a little bit, but you can also press your fingertips down into whatever is underneath. And then we'll drop the belly with a big breath, looking up, inhaling big. And then on your exhale, reverse it round. Tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin. And then flow back and forth a few rounds. Drop the belly with the inhale. Round it out with the exhale. Back and forth a few rounds. Speaking of cat, Calvin is busted in. We're using this cat-cow as our quick little tune into the body. So when you're ready, sway side to side. You can look over shoulders. And take a few more kind of just free roaming wiggles where you can start to really feel. Like I'm noticing the outside of my hips are sore from using them, like muscle sore. Also noticing my neck a little tight, my low back a little tight. So just making little notes. We'll take 2 or 3 more big breaths. Good. All right, we're going to find center. And then we're going to hover the right knee and create some circles. It doesn't actually matter which knee. So you can just kind of swing it, or you can start to take circles, or if you want to get a little heat in there to work with, you can make a bigger circle. Use your hands to press down. And no matter what you got going on, try the other direction. Beautiful. When you feel it start to burn, we'll switch sides. Whew. Good. So just maybe a few little kind of shaky. Notice what's here. And then if you want, bigger circles. Try other direction. Just using the range of motion in those hips so we don't lose it. Woo, there's the burn. Good. Take your time and shake it out. We're going to settle into our first long hold child's pose. As you settle in, I'll remind you of modifications. You can put the top of your feet on something to protect the ankles. You can put something between your heels and your hips to kind of protect your knees a little more. Knees can go narrow or wide, but allow those big toes to stay together. And then props under the belly, under your heart, under your forehead. And you're just going to start to breathe big, long, slow breaths here. few more moments here. And before we move from this pose, there's an invitation to set an intention for the rest of your practice. What you want more of, how you want to feel when you're done. Remembering any little alerts or notices that you got while we were wiggling in cat-cow. And maybe even noticing your mental, emotional state currently. So a few more big breaths and landing on a word for you to use the rest of the practice. Good. One more big breath in. Feel free to sigh it out if you need. All right. Slowly we'll start to rise. Take a few little wiggles. We're going to slowly move into pigeon pose. So, traditional pigeon, we scoop one shin under. So the knee is close to one side, the foot's working diagonal across the mat. Props under hips, under forearms, under forehead. And we're searching for a stretch right here. If that's too fiery for your knee or your ankle, you can come to your back. And instead, we cross one leg over. You could stay here. You could hold this other leg, shin, or you could even rest this foot on a wall or the side of your couch. And there is also double pigeon where you stack the shins. So tune in, notice where you feel the stretch. Notice what other sensations might be here. And just practice sending your breath right there. one or two more big breaths. Maybe noticing that spot that you sensed in the beginning has softened. If not, no worries. We got plenty of time. Okay. So we're going to build deer with a twist. If you're in traditional sleeping pigeon like this, you'll just slide your back knee in. And so now both knees are bent, one foot tucked under, one foot the other direction. So if you need to take your time to find yourself here. If you didn't come from traditional pigeon, sometimes it's easier to come from butterfly and just flip one foot. So you can hinge you could stay tall if this you feel this in your knee or your ankle or your hips in an interesting way. You can just stay tall and let gravity start to let this shape be more settled. Of course, you can fold forward. This will feel fairly similar to pigeon though. So if you want, walk over to the outside of that front leg with your elbows blocks under, head and elbows are nice. And again, just practice, at least for the first few breaths. Then you can let your mind wander a little bit, or you can just focus on breath. But just for the first few moments, notice where you feel what. Little body scan. And then maybe you start with the spot that has the strongest sensation. Send your breath there. If that dissipates and softens, you can move to the next. Breath by breath, keep tuning in. Take one more big breath. Feel free to sigh it out. Maybe the intention is release. And then very slowly, from here, it might be easiest to come through that butterfly out in front. Feet out in front here. Take a moment, tune in, and then we'll build pigeon. So the first one on the other side. So I'm just going to flip my other leg under and then keep kicking that leg back. Again, you can stay seated, you can flip to the back because this side might need something completely different, and that is natural and normal. That's why we tune in each time. Just remembering that an intention just kind of amplifies what you're already doing. It brings a little extra focus. It brings some meaning to what we're doing. In something like a yoga class, there's lots of meanings and things to focus on. We're stretching, we're breathing, we're tuning in. But you have the chance to make this fit what you need by setting an intention every single time based on what's present. The more intentional you get, not just with your yoga, right? The more you practice setting an intention, tuning in, am I still moving towards that intention? Have I arrived and can I switch to a new intention? The more we're putting an intention behind something and making it more meaningful, the more you'll be able to do that with the kind of mundane things that we feel are meaningless, right? Or things we just kind of have to do. Like for me, my least favorite chore in the house is dishes. But I do often tell myself, like, stare out the back window at your garden that you love. Listen to the water, smell the soap, take your time, take big breaths. So I set an intention of relaxing and somewhat trying to enjoy doing dishes. Often it works. And before I know it, I've done the tasks that needed to be done. And at the end, I'm not angry about it or annoyed. I actually found some peace and ease along the way. But that wouldn't have happened had I not intentionally chosen to find some peace and ease in that moment. And while each practice can have an intention, each pose can have an intention, and each breath can have its own intention. So, for example, we're at our last breath here. Maybe that big breath is The intention is to release what is here, what needs to be. Big breath in, sigh it out. We're going to slowly build deer. So if you're not in this shape, you'll start in butterfly. Otherwise, we'll slide the back knee in. And just sit tall for a moment. I like to kind of play around with this back foot, make sure I find a shape that feels safe for knee and ankle. And then you can either hinge forward again. It's slightly different than pigeon, but fairly similar. Or hop to the outside corner. I'm going to spin myself so that I can see you. One more big breath. Sigh it out. We're going to slowly come around to seat one more time for a butterfly. This time we're going to hang out in the butterfly. Feet together, knees wide. So props under is really nice so there's not like a dead hang. If the hang feels good, great. If it's too much pressure on the inside of the hips, put props under here to support. You can also put your feet on something. This turns it up though. So this is a little more, your feet being higher puts you at more of a fold. You could put blocks under your elbows, under your forehead. You could put pillows here. I think I'm gonna switch your room. If you're not sure, can your intention, your word, can that help you? Right? If your word was peace or ease, maybe get all the props and just really relax. One more big breath. And start to rise up. If you went into the fold, take your time. All right, take a moment. Give your legs a little extension here, a little shake, shake, a little wiggle, wiggle. We are going to sit in a seated crisscross for a few moments for shoulders and for hands, and then a little bit of meditation. So I like to sit up on something. I'm going to use this folded cushion. Lifting your sit bones a couple inches, then opens your hips. That allows everything to find a little more ease. Same idea though, if you need. You can put blocks under to make sure everything feels nice and balanced. I might need to move this for eagle arms here. So starting with eagle arms, we're going to take arms wide. And then hug one arm under. You can stay here, or the bottom arm starts to push. You can stay here, or the other arm, they start to work towards each other. Some people wrap the palms to kind of anchor and find a little more stretch. Wherever you wandered, try to sit tall and relax the shoulders down. We'll take a few big breaths in the nose, fill up the belly, fill up the chest, and sigh it out. Sometimes it feels nice to gently lower the chin or lift the chin. Okay, we'll do 2 more big breaths here. And then you'll unwind the same way we went in. Hands can go to shoulders. And then you can release and shake it out. All right, remember which arm you just hugged under, because that's always a tricky thing. When you're ready, we'll take arms wide. Hug the other arm under. And then slowly, the bottom arm will lead. Maybe backs of hands together. Sit tall, drop the shoulders, big breath. Two more big breaths. Good. Slowly we'll release and give it a little shake, shake. We're going to move into the hands. So one hand to the sky. We'll start on the pinky side, and you're grabbing really close to where the pinky meets the palm, not at the end. Opening the palm here. We're going to go finger by finger, nice and slow. We're not trying to get it to crack or pop, but it might happen. You're trying to feel the stretch through the palm, maybe into the wrist and forearm. Opposite of what we often do all day long. When you get to the thumb, we're going to swoop under and invite the thumb to open off to the side here. I often like rest my hand on my other hand and kind of use a little leverage. Good. All right, we're going to grab all 4 fingers, leave the thumb alone, and invite the wrist to open, the palm to open, fingers to open. You'll notice with the elbow bent, you'll feel one sensation. If you straighten the arm, it's a different sensation. So see what feels good here. Add the breath. And when you're ready, we'll release and give it a good shake. Shake, 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 shake. It might feel nice for a gentle counterbalance, but do not push hard here. Okay, you're just softly bringing your wrist in the other direction. And then we'll release again, little gentle shake. And we'll move on to the other side. Palm up. We'll start to the pinky. Opposite of typing, of texting, of holding and grabbing, and also just bringing some love and care for our hands. Wow, can you imagine if they didn't show up for you the way they do now? Maybe your hands are already starting to show up a little odd. That's okay too. Reach under, invite the thumb open. If you have stuff going on with your hands, this is a time to intentionally just care for them and nurture them. Good. We'll do all four fingers. So you can start with that bent elbow, see how that feels. If it feels nice, extend. When you're ready, you'll give it a good shake. And then we'll invite the other direction if you want. If it feels good, no forcing. Good. Okay, we're going to settle back into our seated shape when you're ready. We're going to do a few rounds of either. Simply finding belly breath, diaphragmatic breathing. Eventually, we want this breath to feel natural and normal, the way we breathe when we're driving and when we're working. But it does take some practice. So it is a form of meditation. If you've got the belly breath down, you can just simply meditate following the breath. You can follow any of the thoughts, notice if they're positive and inspiring, or if they inform you of something you can follow. Otherwise, you can just come back to the breath. So sit bones are rooted, shoulders are dropped, crown is reaching to the sky. We'll take a big breath in the nose, filling up the belly, then the chest, and then exhale, everything returns to center. Inhale through the nose, always. Inhale belly, chest, and side out. I'm going to let you go at your pace since we all have different rhythms here. A few more big breaths. They're big, but they're soft. They're powerful, but they're peaceful. Good job. Take one more breath, and you can really let that exhale be dramatic. Sigh out, clear out, whatever you need. And if your eyes are closed, we'll slowly flutter them open. We're going to take our time coming to our back for waterfall. So you will need one prop of some sort, pillow, block. And we're going to float our feet in the air. So the easiest way to get there is to lie on back and then bridge up. We are going to do supported bridge after this. Sorry. So if you know you like this is too big for me for supported bridge. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. So we'll float the feet for a minute or two. You can always add the arms. It's called sleeping tiger. Reach your hands to sky and let your hands just kind of go loose. Same with the feet. They're just kind of floppy up there. We have another minute or so. This pose is different, just like all of them, for each of us. So some of you might feel that sensation, like your feet get tingly or you feel blood flow into your head. It might happen faster than others. If so, you can just hug knees in. But there are people that could hang out in this for like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, maybe longer. Two or three more breaths. And then we can start to move towards the supported bridge. I'm going to hug knees in first, just always feels nice. We actually haven't done that yet today, so why not? And then we'll set down 1 foot at a time. Oh, hi, Mr. Calvin. And then you can stay right here, just hips on the block, feet flat, hands on the body is nice. You can extend one leg all the way long, resting it down. You'll feel the hip flexor start to open. And depending on the size of your prop, you might need to do one leg at a time, or you might be able to extend both legs and feel a little opening through here. So feel free to kind of guide yourself while we're here for the 4 minutes. I'll let you know when we're halfway if you're working one half, but go ahead and just kind of feel your way through. If you start with both legs long and it starts to be too much, you just slide one in or both. Again, you can take hands wide, you can cactus, or place the hands on the body and practice following that belly breath. Good. We're about halfway. If you need to change the shape, go for it. And you'll know because your breath will start to constrict, or maybe certain parts of the body will start to alert you. slowly, we'll start to bring both feet flat if you've wandered. And then we're going to move the prop aside. And option to take what feels good for a moment. I'm going to hug knees in one more time. Of course, you can grab toes like butterfly, like crisscross applesauce, or even happy baby, but see which one feels best. And then we're going to close out with a twist. Dropping both knees. You could take any other variation you'd like, but I'm going to drop both knees to the side. Arms reaching long and wide. Again, they can rest on the body or cactus. You can put props underneath, between, under your shoulder if you need. Tuning into the sensation, send the breath. And for these last two, just say your word a few times. Maybe you see it in your mind's eye. Maybe you just kind of use it as a little mantra. I am peace. I am ease. I am strength. And if you were, right? If your word was peace, I am peace. I am peace. How would you breathe in a peaceful way? How would you breathe in a strong way, right? Maybe it's a very big, more ujjayi breath. How can you breathe in a loving way, in a compassionate way? Whatever your word is, can you use your breath and your mind to amplify? Slowly, you're going to take your twist to the other side. Feel the sensation, send your breath there. Maybe let your mind, your thoughts, your words, and your breath support the reason you're here. slowly. Find a shape of ease. You can roll to one side fetal pose. You can open up wide to Shavasana, legs long, arms wide, taking up space. Or of course, you can always return to seated meditation. And as we just land here for a few more moments, maybe you float on a little cloud that is your intention. See it, feel it, breathe it, say it, be it. Good. Slowly. If you're not seated yet, you can roll to one side and make your way to any seated shape you'd like to close your practice. And before we close out, maybe in your mind's eye, see your intention on a little sliding scale. And just notice where you might have landed. Remembering you may not need 100%, 30% more peace might be exactly what you needed. You can continue to call this intention in the rest of your day with your thoughts, your words, your actions, your breath. Or if you got what you needed here, you can shift and choose a new intention for the rest of your day. No matter what is here, we close with gratitude for showing up and tuning into our bodies, for our bodies showing up for us, and for this space to practice together. Namaste.